Welcome to the Passive Income Podcast. I am your host, Dividend Dave. Please be sure to join the Passive Income Posse by clicking that subscribe button below. Super excited for this episode. Joining me is Invested Athlete, the first professional athlete we've had here on the Passive Income Podcast. So please go ahead and give yourself an introduction.
What's going on, man? My name is the Invested Athlete, um, professional athlete, like Dave just said, in the CFL. This is my rookie year. I just finished college back in December. My master's. Spent about 6 years in college. Not the average, but with COVID and everything in the states, we got a few extra years back, etc. So I used them to get my master's. I went down to Tennessee, played my last year, transferred, started off at Mayor's College, small FCS school up in New York, and then I spent 4 years there, 5 years with the COVID year. Ended up taking the extra COVID year that we didn't play because we're up in New York. Obviously, they shut everything down.
Right.
So took my extra year, was applying around, hit the transfer portal, was applying around to different schools. Didn't have the best GPA, so I was struggling to get into a master's program, obviously.
Right.
So that was a pretty cool experience there in its own. So I'm getting hit up by a bunch of schools, Oklahoma, Houston, McNeese State, Portland State, some pretty good schools, Buffalo, stuff like that. And when it would come down to try to get into a master's program, they said, unfortunately, with everything else that you have going on, besides football, you're not going to be able to get into a master's program. So I ended up actually dropping down to the Division II level.
Okay.
I went to play in the best conference. I went to play in the best conference in Division II football, the SAC. Schools like Lenore Rhine, Limestone, etc. Had a great year of football down there. Ended up, getting in contact with, some CFL teams, my agent, etc. And down south was a great experience. I had the best time that one year that I was down there than all of my years of football up north combined. Met a lot of great guys. My head coach helped me out a lot. He had some connections he played at University of Florida. He had some connections with some CFL guys, agents, etc. And he told me that before I came down there. But the biggest thing for me was I didn't want to drop down a level. You know what I mean? So he was telling me all these things when he was recruiting me, the coach down in the D2 school, and he's like, this, that, and the third, and we play great football, and da 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 da. And I'm like, yeah, coach, like, I love what you got going on, but I just don't know if I want to drop down. And essentially dropping down, it's crazy because with dividends and with the stock market and with investing and with finance, you're going to have your ups and your downs in the market. Obviously, you're going to have down days, up days, down months, down years. You're going to go through cycles, etc., that are going to be um, opportunities for you to doubt yourself, doubt what you're doing, not believe in the longer outcome. And that is essentially what that was my first experience at that level of having some type of doubt, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it actually helps out in the long run now when I'm sitting here, speaking of finance and speaking of wealth building and generational wealth, etc., because that you have to deal with stuff like that every day. So that being said, went down south. Coach was telling me a whole bunch of stuff, and it actually played out to be true. I played a great year of football. I had a couple scouts come in, talked to a few guys. Um, Ended up flying out. My agent flew me out to a tryout in Florida with Edmonton. Um, Kicked it off with those guys. Had an amazing, performance. I ran like a 4.46 40. was just dominating, and all the tryouts and everything like that. Um, yeah, signed. I signed right there. They signed me right there at
Tryout
the
camp.
tryout, and yeah, yep. And then I went home with my mother on the next flight back to Boston. I'm originally from Boston, Massachusetts.
Wow, that's an amazing story. And I do just kind of have to quickly ask, like when you were in high school or your first few years in D1, did you even know about the CFL? Like, had you ever even heard of the CFL before? The Canadian Football League?
So so I didn't hear about the CFL probably until my freshman year of college. Maybe I went to prep school in Connecticut, so I did an extra year of high school. I might have heard about it a bit there with some of those guys, but I didn't really hear about it until I was really getting to that level where guys were going professional. You know what I
Right.
mean? So um, it was like, oh, CFL, CFL, NFL, etc. And a lot of guys at my school, especially Marist, a small school, were like NFL or bust guys. And I didn't want
Yeah.
to be like that. You know what I mean? I didn't want to be an NFL or bust guy. I didn't want to give my whole life to something and then, you know, the NFL not come knocking and I stopped playing football. I didn't want to do that. So um, that's when I found out about the CFL. We had a guy who went out to the Baltimore Ravens. He had some CFL interests, and that's when I first started hearing about it. And then um, once I talked to my agent, and then I did some research on it, and I saw it on social media and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, man, this is that, like they say, it's the greatest show on turf. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Awesome. I do promise to the audience, to the listeners and viewers, that we are going to get into talking about more investing, but just a couple more questions about football. Um, there's a huge difference between the NFL and the CFL. Well, there's a few huge differences. Obviously, the number one difference in the playing of the game is three downs as opposed to four downs. So maybe just talk briefly about that you know, transition and how you adopted to the different game. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe the Canadian field is also wider and longer, and there's 12 players on the field as
Yeah.
opposed to 11. So there's some significant differences. So maybe just talk. We don't have to jump, like dive deep into this, but just obviously it's an adjustment as an American growing up playing American four down football, and then you come here to Canada and you're like,
Yeah.
what is this?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it honestly, football is football at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
that's a
when
great
you're out
answer.
there as a rookie, speaking for my, yeah, speaking for myself, I didn't notice that. I honestly didn't notice that all that stuff was going on. Like I knew the waggle, obviously, because I had to do. I'm a running back. You know what I
Okay.
mean? But like, as a running back, the biggest thing I noticed is that I have to get yards immediately. You don't have an opportunity on first down and those second down, those early downs to lose yardage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in the U.S. or in the NFL, sometimes you have an opportunity where you can, maybe afford to not gain a yard or what I mean, get back to the line of scrimmage. But in the CFL, you go first down, you don't get a yard, you only have
You
that
need
second
5 yards
downer,
off
then
the
you have to
first
punt.
down
You know what I mean?
immediately, right?
Yeah, yeah. And those are what I noticed in the CFL is that the best running backs, they're able to get that 5 yard, 4 yard, 4.5 average yard pop, and that's the biggest difference to me. Other than that, I didn't even notice that there was 12 men on the field. I probably still don't even notice it because the field's so wide. Um,
Right.
and it's just that halfback. I didn't even know that there was an extra man until they said halfback, and then I was like, oh shit, it's 12 men on the
Oh,
field.
there is
I'm
another
just
guy
like,
out here. That's funny.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
funny.
So, but yeah, at the end of the day, football's football, Dave, man. So,
Nice. That's a great answer. I love that answer. Just football is football.
yeah,
And so, kind of one last question about football, and this is going to be a kind of the segue into the finances and dividend and the other obvious thing, sort of the off the field, this NFL huge multi-million dollar 5, 10, 20 more million dollar contracts that guys are making. And in the CFL,
yep,
that kind of money does not exist, right? So I guess
Yep.
just and I'm not going to ask you personally exactly what your contract is or anything like that, but I guess just I'm guessing that's sort of how you're getting into the realm of investing as well, right? At the end of the day, you're getting paid money to
Mhm.
play a game, so you're living the dream of most kids, right? Um, so it's just
Yep.
whatever you are making in the CFL, which again, you're making money to get to play a game that you love, a sport that you love. And then so yeah, you're taking what is essentially, um, let's just use the number, a tenth of the money, probably less than what
Hmm.
NFL players are making, and now you're focusing on investing that for the long term. Is that fair to say?
Yep. Yes,
Yep.
sir. That's 100% fair to say. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, obviously
So
good strategy.
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, no, it is. It is. Yeah, I think you broke up here for a second, but yeah, no, it is a great strategy. And you want me to speak on that a little bit there?
Yeah, please.
Absolutely. So yeah, for me, I'll give you a little bit about my investment journey. Um, I started hearing about investments. Like I said, I mentioned earlier, I went to prep school. I did an extra year. This is actually a pretty cool story. I don't want to talk too much, but I did an extra year of high school, basically a fifth year, a postgraduate year is what they call it, so a PG year.
Right.
It's at a preparatory school. It's a college preparatory school. They're super expensive. They're super exclusive. Um, and usually they take guys like myself, that are playing other sports, that are looking for that. Either it's an extra year of recruitment, it's an extra year of schooling, it's a place to go away for pre-college prep. You know what I mean, to get you that exposure to be away from home, etc. So you're not going into your freshman year acting like a knucklehead. Um, and then I know a lot of guys like literally, and then I know a lot of guys that like were involved in being recruited by the Army and the Navy, sports, and as well as being a cadet, etc. Like the Navy would tell them, okay, you have XXX, I need you to do X, Y, and Z, go to this, prep school in New York or Connecticut or Virginia, and then, come in the next year and we'll be able to sign you, etc. So it's kind of it was a weird mix. And when I got to prep school, it opened my eyes to a lot of things. It opened my eyes to, number one thing was just wealth. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like for me as an inner city kid, from Boston, Massachusetts, you know what I mean? I knew so the thing about me is I was an inner city kid, but I was never in inner city schools. I was always in private schools. My family always found a way to get me the best educate. They busted their ass to get me the best education possible, um, that they could, and that's a blessing that I got.
Yeah, that's
As a
amazing.
kid growing up, that a lot of kids didn't get to experience. Yeah, so I always knew, I mean, my friends were always wealthy. Like I would literally go to private school and in the suburbs of Boston and come back to go home to the hood. Like, so school for me, I mean, school for me was literally like a vacation every day. Like I wasn't worried. That's why my grades were so bad in college, because I never had structure. You know what I mean? I would just, and I was raised by my grandmother and my mother, and my mother was in and out. So I was really raised by my grandmother. So as I got older, it wasn't anybody really telling me anything. I was literally just going out and going to school and coming back and playing football and coming back. The only thing that kept me, you know, straight was, faith and football. So anyway, so I did an extra year in prep school. And the amount of wealth that I saw at that school was unbelievable. First of all, you're paying 70K for a high schooler to go to school.
Wow.
Um, and it's different, man. It's different. I mean, kids were getting
Yeah.
chauffeured, they're getting picked up in Lamborghinis, they're getting picked up in, I mean, they're wearing. I mean, we'd have to wear blazers and slacks and a nice pair of dress shoes to school every day, and go to sermons on Saturdays and etc. And these kids would come out in Gucci and Louis suits, And you know what I mean? Like the people have money. Their fathers and CEOs and Wall Street execs, Goldman Sachs execs. So it started exposing me. Just the conversation started exposing me to different things. You know what I mean? And I've always had a business mindset. Like my grandmother taught me business at an early age, man. And I was out there hustling, selling snacks and stuff, and cold waters outside the train station when I was like 7 years old, bringing home 150 bucks, not even knowing when I'm going to yard sales and buying stuff. Like I didn't know what I was doing. But
Yeah, yeah,
it all plays out down the
yep,
line to sitting here, where I'm at now. So I went to prep school, the conversations were changing and Bitcoin was popping up. This is around when Trump was getting elected. So the conversations that were being had from a kid from the inner city to go out there and then experience, that is the conversations were completely different. So I had to adjust myself, obviously, as I didn't want to look like an idiot, and I also didn't want to act like oh, this black kid's just in here, because it's different when you're African American male, especially
for
in
sure.
America in those type of situations. It's and Canada's a lot different. They do a good job of that because it's not as much, uh, t at least blatant racism that I've experienced. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
we've had a couple of
So it's just
like, well, I know you and I have had a couple of exchanges on X about there is obviously still racism in Canada. Unfortunately, it's just like you said, though, not as
yep,
blatant. I think you called it low key. It's like
yeah,
Canada's
yeah,
actually
low
kind of
key.
low key racist.
That's
Yeah, well, yeah. Unfortunately, there's
yeah,
bad apples out there still, but
yeah,
so I just
yeah.
going to
But that
this very expensive prep school. Were you there
yep,
because of like a football scholarship, or because
yep.
being
I,
raised by a mother, a single mother, and your grandmother, they're not pulling in enough to pay 70 grand for you to go to school for a year, I'm guessing, right?
no, absolutely not. Even though my grandmother did work, I mean, she she worked for the MBTA for about 23 years, and she was a barn captain. So she was high up in the Massachusetts Busing and Transportation Association. She was, well known in that area. But no, she was not bringing in hits. Still, I mean, it was my brother and whoever else was coming in and out of the house that needed help. You know what I mean? At the time, she was always like a safe haven. Like we owned the home. The home was in our family for 40 years. It's a three-story home, so like whoever, and whenever somebody needed it, they could always. So she was always, paying all those bills, making sure food's on the table, making sure I'm getting to school, making sure my brother's getting to school, making sure my mom's good. Oh, her son, you know what I mean? There's a whole
Yeah,
bunch of stuff. So no, they weren't bringing in any type of money at all. No.
but definitely, I can tell just by the way you're describing your grandmother, one hell of a strong woman.
Yep. Absolutely.
Let's get into more about the investment journey and sort of what you're investing in now. I did hear you mention Bitcoin around the time Trump was getting elected, so that would have been about 2016 when he got elected, and that was when Bitcoin was starting to gain more popularity. So did you go down that cryptocurrency path, or
Yep.
yeah, and are you still there, or are you back more into you know like the solid S&P 500 stocks, or I guess let's just talk about your investment journey over the last 6 7 years.
Gotcha. So I didn't get into crypto until Dogecoin. That was my first experience really um, with making any money off of crypto. And obviously, I was in college at the time. Kids are running around like their heads are chopped off like wild chickens
Yeah.
about this cryptocurrency stuff. And that was when NFTs were starting to pop off and everything. So I was buying, like I would buy maybe like one or two ETH at a time, and would eventually sell it off when it was going up and down when I was younger, just not knowing what I was doing.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I made some money off Dogecoin, but I never really invested in crypto. Now, for the past probably, I would say 6 to 12 months, because we have a Bitcoin halving coming. We have a Bitcoin halving coming up in March 2024. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. So
Yeah.
I've been buying about probably 50 to $100 worth of Ethereum, Bitcoin, and XRP total. So like I split up, $50 to $100. Probably I do that probably every week. I've been doing that. So I have right now probably about $1,500 um, of ETH, Bitcoin, and XRP just sitting there. That's just what I throw in just to have some, just to stay updated with crypto. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I do like crypto a lot. I believe strongly in crypto, and obviously that will continue to build. And if XRP is who they say they are, after all these lawsuits and everything, etc., um, it should be in for um, what they call a nice squeeze.
Yeah. I'm the same. I have very little Bitcoin and a little bit of ETH, but I'm kind of more heavily invested into XRP as well, and sort of same thing,
Yep.
waiting the long game on that one. It's like I can't believe this. It's like the lawsuit that never ends. It just keeps going and going and going. So, um, and then
Yeah.
transitioning away from crypto though into more just whether it's individual companies or ETFs and index funds.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on anything there?
So I also do something similar, like we're doing here, and I've been teaching since about, not teaching, but I'll just say like a group chat. If any of my friends or anyone I meet wants to join, if we had a conversation, you want to join, just hear me speak. I call it Strategy Sundays. I have it every Sunday, um, and I when I first started, I was an options trader. Like in 2018, I made almost $40,000 trading options at,
Wow.
what was that, 19? I didn't know what that. And the thing about it was um, I don't know if this is illegal or not, but I was getting I was getting the unemployment checks. I don't know how, but I was getting the unemployment checks and I was throwing them into the market during
Yeah.
COVID and everything. I was just throwing them into the market, and I ran up, nearly 40,000 in profit. I bought a 5 Series BMW. I brought it to college. I ended up blowing the engine out, not getting the oil change. I was doing a whole bunch of stuff. Like I was buying. I thought I was, because back then I was just, what I mean. I'm in college. I'm like, man, I'm trading stocks. I'm playing football. I got these girls. I got this. I'm doing all this stuff. So I was, man, I'm freaking it. And I think my biggest play, I turned. It was a Friday, and I was going into physical therapy, and this is when I first started trading, and I was so heavy on just trading Tesla because I was just like, oh, Elon and Tesla, and Elon and Tesla,
Yeah.
boom, and that was when the volatility on Tesla, those days, some of those days back then in the stock market, during COVID and everything was ridiculous, especially after COVID was recovering. Like the volume you can get on, I was buying out of the money, almost nearly $100 out of the money plays, and they were ending up in the money. Like Tesla was having $75 days, $60 days. Like
Yeah.
and that's when I started trading. And then as a trader, I'm like, is this the stock market? I didn't. So I had to. So I lost. I ended up losing a lot of money because when I first started trading, really started options trading, day trading, and investing my money was around that time where things were so volatile that the swings were so crazy that I was like, oh, this is amazing. I'm the best trader in the world because I was catching these. I would buy $100 out of the money call on Tesla, and it would go up $60, and I would be sitting at $5,000 from $100, and I'm like, bro, I could do. You know what I'm saying? I'm not, and then on top of that, it's not my money I'm spending, so I have no respect for the money. You know what I mean? So I'm
Right.
just, all right, boom. If I lose, I'll just do it again. If I win, I'll spend all the money. You know what I mean? So that's how I first started trading, man. I first started trading. I was buying up the stocks that I was buying. I think I was buying like Gush at the time, which is a oil ETF, and I was buying. There was I was only buying oil. I was buying oil and trading options. That was it, because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And at the time, like oil was, I was buying I was buying it at like $12, $14 a share. And then again, like my car broke down and stuff. I started selling everything, and I look back, a couple months later after everything, subsides, and the I think the oil ETF was at like 125 bucks a share.
Holy wow.
So I was just sitting there. I could bring up the chart. I don't want to talk too much again, but I could bring up the chart and show you what was going on. So yeah, that's how I started. So I thought I was the best in the world, and I took a lot of losses to get to where I'm at now. I've been having some, great days. If you haven't seen on Twitter, trading options, ripping spy puts lately. Ripped some AMD calls the other day. So right now, I'm solely investing in. Let's switch to that. I'm solely investing in ETFs. I'm investing in ETFs. A couple. I'm a couple. Uh, I would say potential growth stocks for me. I don't know if everyone else would consider them growth stocks, but like I know we share similar interests on SoFi, correct? Um,
I
is
I'm
that is
not
that
invested
correct?
in
Or?
SoFi. I find it a very interesting one to follow for
Oh,
sure.
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry about that. I thought that was maybe that was another dividend investor on Twitter. But yeah, so I'm in on, I like SoFi and I like UPST. Those are my growth stocks. So those are stocks that essentially they're AI. Uh, they're essentially like artificial intelligence lenders.
Right.
So when we're seeing all this, when we're going to start seeing these credit defaults and etc. Stuff like that, I believe that we'll see companies like Upstart, SoFi. You can do your own research on them. Are going to have a huge upside with just the AI background that they have in lending and financial uh, endeavors. So I like SoFi, and I like UPST. I also recently just started investing in TSLY. That is a high yielding dividend ETF, a yield max ETF. Basically, they use a covered call option strategy to earn you income, to earn investors income. You're essentially not earning anything if the stock goes up or down. You're earning all your money from that covered call strategy.
Right.
I like yield max option ETFs a lot. They're kind of newer. They're a newer investment that's been rolled out.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's a pretty cool thing to look at. I think I have about, and then on top of that, I think I have about. I'm closing in on, I think it's 60 shares of VU. And I just recently just started investing into O,
Oh
which
yeah,
is,
Realty
as
Income,
we all
ticker
know,
symbol O.
yep. And I like the opportunity that we have in commercial real estate right now, not only in the stock market but as well in real life. And if you have the capital, and if that's something that you are investing in, if you have the right information, I think that you should start checking out commercial real estate for the future because it's not going anywhere. We
Right.
are just in a very rough time right now with real estate alone, and especially with commercial real estate, with retail, our whole retail sector alone, um, literally going through something that we haven't seen before. I don't think in America at all. And I'm only 25 years old, but I don't think we've seen the amount of theft. I don't think we've seen the amount of problems we're having in retail. Um, you know, Commercial spaces right now, period.
Right.
So that's something interesting. Like Warren Buffett says, be fearful when others are greedy, greedy when others are fearful. It's pretty cliche, but it's been right on for me, man.
Right.
And I was like I said, when I first started buying oil, I was buying oil because it was cheap, and everybody was like, "Oh my gosh, everyone's going to electric, this, that, and the third." And as a young kid, I ended up selling it. But when I look back and I checked those stocks again, like I said, that oil ETF was going for about 125 bucks.
Wow. I
So
have a few
yeah,
thoughts
I'm in
there.
VU. I'm in. Yep, go ahead.
Sorry, just let me jump in on that Tesla TSLY, the high yield
Hmm.
max. I think the last time I looked, it was
Yep,
something like a 45% yield or 40 over 40% yield. And I'm just wondering how
yep.
sustainable that is. But I guess with the covered call strategy, maybe it is sustainable. But when I see a yield that high, obviously it's more than just scary.
Yeah, it is. It is pretty scary, and I think their last payment was like it was almost 60 cents distribution per share. I'm trying to find it here now,
Right.
but it is again, and it's all speculation. At the end of the day, it's all speculation. You know,
Yeah.
it's what, especially on FinTwit, everything is speculative.
Well, isn't the
So
entire stock market just speculation? Nobody knows if it's going up, down,
exactly,
sideways, bull
exactly,
run, bear run.
and
We never know what's
yeah,
coming
and
next.
to add to that, the U.S. dollar is the most criminally used physical asset in the world.
Yeah.
So we're
Yeah.
running off a Ponzi. If you want to start spitting facts here, we can do that. But yeah, TSLY, like I said, if it's sustainable, and again, like at my age, I'm 25. I can be at I can have more risk in my
Yeah,
portfolio. You
for
know what I
sure.
mean? And I can monitor my portfolio almost every day, which I do. And I'm trading options every day, so I'm in there every day. And the thing about TSLY is again is it's sustainable. Yes, right now we are going to see yes of a yield. Obviously, Tesla, and I think Tesla is honestly beating TSLY. TSLY has been around for the past 9 months since year to date since inception, and I think honestly, uh, I can check the numbers again, but I think Tesla is beating TSLY across the board from dividend return, stock return, etc. Obviously,
Wow.
if you look at Tesla's charts, if
Right.
you're doing if you're a covered call strategy and you look at Tesla's chart and you actually think about it, it's a no brainer why we're in the situation we are in with a TSL LY if the yield is dropping, if that anything,
Hmm.
because we are dumping. Tesla is dumping right now. Tesla is Tesla is falling, and it's falling pretty sharp. Might have had an $8 day or a $6 day the other day, but again, um, we are at a point right now. SPY, Tesla, all even Apple. These stocks are sitting at a very key level here and a dangerous level if you are long.
Right.
I'm trying to pull them up here.
Well,
I'm
you're
trying to
looking
pull
for
up the
that.
Tesla chart. But yeah, the Tesla chart. Yep.
Well, I was just going to circle back to what you were talking about with realty income, ticker symbol O, and commercial warehouse
Hmm.
space. So, a couple of thoughts that I have here. One is obviously right now O is at a very attractive price. It might be below 50 or right around 50. So, very attractive price. Great dividend paying ticker that they keep raising their dividend just by a little tiny bit, but every 3 months, every quarter they raise it another little fraction, and so you have that nice dividend growth over time. And then just sort of another thought on that whole commercial real estate space in the city I live in. It's a very small city. Well, I live outside the city, but the city I live near, small city in Ontario, that as of just in a few days, October 1st, Amazon is opening up a 1 million square foot warehouse. So that's commercial real estate space where you just see you know, um, it just kind of the proof's in the pudding there, right? When a company like Amazon comes in and says, "Hey, this little tiny town or small city, we're going to build a 1 million square foot warehouse." So, um, those are just kind
Yeah.
of my thoughts on what you were mentioning with REITs and O and commercial real estate space.
Yeah. That's and like you said, the proof is in the pudding. because if we are in such a, here's the thing that I always like to look at. I like to look at it how my laptop may die here. I like to look at how the big movers are moving. You know what I mean?
Right.
Amazon is buying commercial real estate or building commercial real
Yeah,
estate.
this one they just built it.
A
It's
big
all
mover is
brand. Everything's
building
brand
commercial real
new.
estate. Just just built it. Why are we building? You know, if we're having rising vacancy rates in Manhattan, Silicon Valley, and all these places, right? Why if the commercial real estate sector is so bad, why is a huge you know, Fortune 500, whatever you want to call Amazon,
Yeah.
blue chip, you know, stock, whatever. Why is Amazon building commercial real estate at the same time? Like you said, the proof is in the pudding, and that is because the big guys, they're not worried about a commercial real estate. You know, they're not worried about a commercial real estate crash. They're gonna go out here and buy these things penny on the dollar. If they're building, they're gonna build it at penny on the dollar because no one's having any work for builds anyway.
Right.
Okay, so let's go up, and in a time where everyone's panicking, let's rise. And just like the pandemic, in a time where everyone panicked, I think it was what the 1% allocated for it was like what 50 point something $1 billion in just COVID and the recession alone,
Yeah.
while everyone else was running around here again. You know, so it's a thing. Like you said, the proof is in the pudding. You know, Amazon, you know, is buying up commercial real estate and building up real estate while we're also in a commercial real estate crash. And when you really start looking at this stuff, it explains it for itself.
Right. Yeah, it's amazing. There's already pictures of it, like on Google Street View. The Google car hasn't been around yet to actually film the street view, but just pictures of it. And like I said, everything is brand new. Even the parking lot doesn't, the pavement doesn't even look like it's been driven on yet. So it, it's uh, it's definitely gonna change things in the city I live in or live near.
Yeah.
And then, do you have any other
100%.
individual companies that you own? So you mentioned Tesla and or TSLY
So
and Realty Income or other
so
sectors that you're invested in.
so I used So the thing about me is I really haven't started heavily investing. Honestly, like a true investor, I would say, until the beginning of 2023 when I started, you know, knowing that I was going to have a professional football career. Before that, I was always in and out of stocks just as a college kid. I would always see, you know, I would maybe hold a stock for a year or two, see some capital, and then, you know, go ahead on about my day. Like I said, I've always been an options trader. Now, at the time, I'm 25, like I said. You know, I'm looking into small business IRAs, I'm looking into Roth IRAs, HSA, etc., whatever you want to say. So now I'm starting to actually look at, you know, long term, at least in a 7 year time horizon when I'm looking up, you know, ready to have kids, wife, etc. in about 5, 7 years, and I can see some gains on those, you know, pull out of my IRA, go
Right.
buy real estate untaxed, etc. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm at trying to build. So I'm looking for specifically right now where we're at in this market. I'm looking for growth stocks. I'm looking for growth stocks um, that can fit me in those 5 to 7 year period with the vision of that company. I have to find the vision of the company to line up what I'm looking for. You know what I mean? That's why I'm
Yep.
looking into ETFs right now because that kind of covers me over those growth stocks so I can pinpoint a couple that I like, you know, specifically that can work for me. Like I can go and buy Apple, Google, whatever right now. Anybody can do that. But I need to find something that is going to, you know, specifically find that growth for me in those next 5 to 7, maybe 10 years in the stock
Right.
market. I'm not looking here to, you know, retire off the stock market because I don't believe that I even have the possibility to do that with our economy and with society and however. I don't know that I'll have the privilege of, you know, experiencing what, you know, guys your age or, you know, earlier generations had in the stock market. You know, I don't think I'm going to be able to reap the benefits of, you know, having a full time Roth IRA until I'm 75 because or 60. because I just
Right.
don't think that's going to be a reality for my generation. So I have to find what works best for me and go from there.
Yeah, very interesting take. And so it sounds like just within the last year or so, definitely starting to look at more of the longer term strategy. And honestly, even 5 to 7 years is still a
Hmm.
relatively short time frame. As you, even at 25 years old, I'm sure you're starting to learn and realize that time flies by pretty quickly, and suddenly another year is gone. Um, and then so beyond that, right?
Yeah,
You know, you need to not financial advice, but I'm just saying you also need to start thinking like 15, 20, 25 years down the road as well. Um,
yeah,
and circling back to being a professional athlete, other than maybe a professional golfer, a professional sports career only lasts so long, right? And so you definitely have to be thinking about what are you
absolutely,
going to be doing after football, right?
absolutely.
So, and I mean,
I'm
obviously,
an invested athlete, man.
awesome. And I mean, obviously, all the best to you, and that you do get to play a game, play a sport for many years as long as you can. Um, but at the end of the day, there's not too many pro football players over the age of 40, right?
Absolutely,
So,
you're 100% right.
yeah.
You're
Oh,
100%
wow.
right, man, and that's
And
exactly why I invest in. Yeah, go ahead.
awesome. I'm just gonna say, we're having an amazing conversation. I do want to just quickly bring up so people can find you on X, the app formerly known as Twitter, and it is at invested_athlete, but it's just ATHLTE. Sounds like you didn't. Looks like you didn't have enough characters there to get the entire word in.
No, there was
So
somebody who
definitely.
already had. Yeah, someone already
Oh,
has the
somebody else
name.
already had it. What? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
definitely check out Invested Athlete on X, the app formerly known as Twitter. Um, like I said, we've been having an amazing conversation, and I'm willing to talk to you for as long as you want to chat. But do you have any other thoughts or about investing or even just life in general?
My laptop's actually gonna die here. Can you see me on my phone? I just pulled it up on my
I can
phone. Can
still
you
see
see me
you,
on my phone?
so I think we're okay.
Okay. Well, it's on one
We're still
percent
going.
on my
So
charges. Okay.
if we're
Um, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, but like I tell my guys every week, we have to, I've really been, the past 4 months especially, um, sorry, my,
it's okay.
yeah, the past 4 months especially, I've really been, telling my guys and talking to people, especially when it comes to investment, that you need to find what works for you. You know what I mean? You need to find what works for you and stick with it. Um, and again, when you get on FinTwit, when you get on these apps, and when you get in, especially my generation, again, like I don't have the privilege. Like I like a lot of the older school guys and the older guys because they understand and know, you know, what hard work is, what it means to get to where you have to get to. You know what I mean? Nowadays we have this misconception of social media and guys flexing and going on these trips and yachts and private planes and stuff like that, and like that's not wealth. You know what I mean? And I tell people all the time, especially my generation, like that's not wealth. And we'll see when hard times actually hit who was set up the correct way, the wealth the right way, not rich. I'm talking
Yeah.
about wealthy. You know what I mean? So you can't flex. You can anybody can put on a $2 million chain, but you can't put a $2 million real estate portfolio on your neck. You
Right.
can't put a 2 million stock market portfolio on your wrist.
Yeah.
So it's like that's what I preach to people all the time. It's like, yeah, I may be investing. I may have nearly 10K, 20K, in a few stocks right now. At my age, I can afford to do that, to move my running, to find where I'm at, to put my money into. You know what I mean? And it's not like I'm gonna sit here and tell people, oh yeah, well, I'm in this, and I'm in, and I'm in that, and da, 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 and I
Oh, did your laptop just die?
yeah,
Are you still there on your phone?
yep. Can you hear me on my phone?
I can hear you on your phone. I can't see you on your phone though, but we've got a great screenshot of you on your.
Hold on 1 second.
Uh, well, you're trying to figure that out. I want to just ask you now that you've been in Canada for what, probably about 6, 7, maybe 8 months.
Yep.
Have you looked at any Canadian investment opportunities?
So it's funny you say that, man. I was actually, dude, the real estate in Edmonton is so cheap. It is
Right,
super cheap, and and also there's a rule or something like that in the CFL. I got to figure out the duration of it. But if you're a Canadian resident, you can be like, the league will qualify you as a Canadian. So then
okay,
that gives you that gives the roster a little more. It gives the roster a little more, fluidity, because um, you're a Canadian. They can only take 20 guys that are American, or 21 guys or something like that are American. You know what I mean?
right.
So it's just that's a cool thing too. But the real estate is so cheap out here, man. I've been thinking about, once I get enough capital, I've been talking to RBC Bank, building a reputation with them. Just open up a credit card. So I'm gonna see what I can do on the. I'm talking to. I actually, the first thing I asked them was about mortgages and loans and stuff like that. And they're like, "Oh, you're an Elks player that da 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 da." And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I guess there are a lot of people, when I start talking money, it's just unusual from an athlete, and that's
Right.
a lot of the time. That's the biggest problem I'm facing now. Is just like a lot of people my age just don't understand, so they're just like, oh, like, it's another guy who's just, whatever whatever. But it's anyone who knows finance and, personal wealth. This is your journey. Is your journey with personal wealth, and the fact that, you're even trying to open people's eyes to what's going on out here, um, is never an easy task, and you can only see that, 5, 10, 15 years down the line, when, people are in the same situation of paycheck to paycheck, and you have an investment account that's been, paying you dividends, that's been paying off all your bills for however so many years. You know what I mean? That's going to continue to build. It's just different. It's just a different mindset that you have to have, and it's hard
Right.
to find people, especially in 2023, 20 to 25 years old, who have that vision.
Before we wrap up, I'm going to ask you kind of another Canadian question. So obviously, a pro athlete, football player. I'm guessing growing up, in the U.S., you played other sports like basketball and baseball, I'm sure. And again, now that you're in Canada, hockey, and we're just starting now to get into the start of hockey season. So first, what are your thoughts on hockey? And in Edmonton, who is more famous, you or Connor McDavid?
Oh, dude, Connor McDavid, come on. I mean, like, it's just, and again, like, I didn't even put two and two together when I got to Edmonton. I was like, okay, like, because you got to think, man. I'm from Boston, so I've never had to think of any other sports team in my life. You know what I mean? I can't get this camera on,
That's
but
fine.
I'll just keep talking here. Yeah,
No, yeah,
I've never had to think of any other sports team in my life, man. Tom Brady's been my quarterback since I came out the womb. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
So
I've been winning my whole life. Like, I didn't have a losing season maybe until COVID. Like, all I know is champion. Like, if we weren't in the championship with football, we were in the championship with baby. We were having a parade with something, Boston Marathon. Something was going on. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. The Red Sox and
Yeah, Red
the
Sox, the
Celtics and
Bruins,
the
the
Bruins
Celtics.
and
Yeah. So, obviously hockey has always been, a big part. of sports in Boston. I've gone to plenty of Boston Brew games that are amazing and had a lot of fun. And I've always been a Boston Bruins fan. But when I got to Canada, and I was just like, and I in the I would be in the training room or like just talking to people, like be out in Canada. I'd be like, hey, I'm from Boston. Like the look I would get just because of the look I would get, just the hate towards the Boston Bruins is insane. I'm like, damn, it is crazy to me to see that because again, coming from Boston, you're not used to other people being, you know, saying, "Oh, Boston Brew." Like you're not used to that. I've
Yeah.
never been like you're not gonna be in Boston. And you say Boston Brew to somebody, and somebody be like, "Screw the Boston Bruins." You're not gonna get that. I'm
Yeah,
not.
yeah, and run, duck, and cover real fast if you say that to somebody in
Yeah,
Boston, right?
exactly. So I was out there in Edmonton. I was like, damn, these people freaking hate me out here. Like, you know what I'm saying? And just off a hook. And I didn't know how big, like, and I knew, again, like being from the States, you hear about Canada a lot. You do. I'm not gonna lie. Like I've heard, especially Massachusetts. I'm up there almost north.
Yeah.
So I'm only 4.5, 5 hours from Montreal. So you hear about, um, Canada a lot, and I've just never knew uh, the extent to which, especially Edmonton, you know, supports their hockey team.
Yeah. Yeah, all the cities in Canada are just like Edmonton.
Yeah,
Every city is just crazy about their own team.
yeah.
So, well, you know they may hate you at the rink if you're wearing a Bruins jersey, but I'm sure they love you on the field playing for the Elks. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so I wish you all the continued success there, and I hope you stay in Canada for many years and play many great seasons in the CFL.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, well, my rookie year. So you guys tune in to me, man. Had a few injuries, at the beginning of the year. So, we also haven't had the best season, but I believe Edmonton is a place where you can win, and when you win big, and all you have to
Yeah.
do is get the ball rolling with that. And the laughing stock apparently of the league will be over real quick, as you see with Trey Ford and the stuff that's going on there. So I plan to have a great career in the CFL and stay healthy and play as long as I can.
Awesome. That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Well, again, this has been an absolutely incredible conversation with you. I've really enjoyed hearing your insights, both into football in the U.S., like playing in NCAA football, and your transition, I guess we would call it, to the CFL, and then
Yep.
also obviously all of your insights into investing as well. Just an amazing conversation. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
No, man, I would love to do this again, and be a little bit more prepared on the financial side. Have a little bit more for you guys, my thoughts, and have them written out so I can give the podcast a little bit to what the invested athlete is really investing in and looking forward to, for the future.
Yeah, definitely. With that said, I definitely would love to have you back, and yeah, we'll definitely do this again at some point in the future. And yeah, with that said, if you're still here, well over 50 minutes later, I really hope you enjoyed another amazing episode of the Passive Income Podcast. And please be sure to hit that subscribe button below.